when we talk about algae, we got two types. Phytoplankton, that's our plant algae, okay? And then what eats the plant algae? Zooplankton, just think about a zoo. You know, that's your animals. And so what happens first is those phytoplankton, they take those available nutrients and they begin multiplying and begin growing. That's the base of that food chain. When we look out at Cross Lake, we see that green color. That's what's working. That's what's going on. We've got our phytoplankton producing heavily, and that's why we can have, as we move up this chain, that's why we have tons of fish available. It may not all be fish you like. It may be carp out there. It may be any type of fish species, but it's producing. It is producing fish. In your pond, if you look out there and it's crystal clear, there's no algae. Well, you can't expect a whole lot of fish to feed if you don't have the base of that food chain covered. So above algae, we've got aquatic insects, juvenile fish, small fish feeding. Above that, we've got our prey fishes, our sunfish, bluegill, red ear. We've got all those preying on this next level. Then we have our predator, largemouth bass, and then we've got the ultimate predator, us, right? But it all goes back down, and I can't emphasize this enough. It all goes back to what available nutrients do we have in our soil. So can we increase our carrying capacity? A lot of you guys probably have deer leases. Y'all think about the number of deer you got out there on your property. Can I increase the carrying capacity of my deer lease? Well, yeah. What's recommended out there? You're going to be told food plots. We start feeding corn. We start feeding protein. We start feeding all these things, increasing the amount of available food out there. Well, they're beginning to increase the carrying capacity, the number of deer that can be supported on that deer lease by supplementing and doing all those extra things, fertilizing. Well, can we do it in a pond? Can we increase the carrying capacity of this pond next door? Well, certainly. One of those ways is if we go back to the soil, how can we better treat that soil so that the nutrients in that pond can use the pond can utilize the nutrients that's in that soil. One of those ways is liming. We can go and we can lime this pond. Well, you say liming, what does that do for me? Our soil pH, we go check that. Most of the time in North Louisiana, your soil pH is going to be in this area from 5 to 5.5. It's going to sit around that mark. And for us to move the pH, where do we want our pH to be? We want our pH of our soil to be as close to 7 as possible, neutral. And so that our water can utilize those nutrients. And so in order to do that, just roundabout numbers, for us to move 1 unit pH, it takes about a ton of lime per unit. So if we're at 5, we need to put 2 tons per acre of lime in order to move that soil from 5 to 7. Well, how do we do that? How do we test our soil? Jacob was talking about earlier, taking soil samples, from the pond before we even create it. Likewise, you can do the same thing on this pond. You can take 6 soil samples from this select pond here. Take some cores. You can use a piece of PVC pipe. You can get creative. However you need to get the soil from whatever locations in this pond to take some core samples. Take some core samples out. LSU Extension Service could give you ideas on how to do this. But you can take soil samples from these 6 areas, take that soil, put it in a pan, mix it up, allow it to dry, and then they've got some containers that you put them in. You fill out this form and you send it in, and they'll tell you the exact pH of your soil. And then that will tell you just how much lime you need to add to your pond so that it gets to the correct level.